Welcome everybody to the beautiful Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia for tonight's coverage of what's expected to be a busy night of racing action. This is the ISCA, this is the ButtKicker Cup Series, and this is the season opener, the Southern Spiral Pipe 250 at Atlanta. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth tonight is Brian Britt, along with our producer tonight and Rob Melnick. Tonight's going to be an intriguing one, to say the very least, because it's a new era when it comes to Class A racing on the iRacing service. The next-gen era is here, and now it's the matter of seeing which teams have picked up how to build with this car to be able to race at this track tonight.
Yeah, definitely going to be exciting to see, who comes out on top here at Atlanta. These guys have had the opportunity to maybe, like you said, switch over to the A Open. So a lot of guys maybe have been testing their setups there. Curious to see what these guys have come up with. I know a lot of this race is going to be flat out. I know before the broadcast started, you kind of talked about some bumps out there on the racetrack, though. So that's going to be something to be wary of.
Especially when it comes to the bumps in turns 3 and 4. Let's take a look at the race facts for tonight's action, Brian, to start things off, because these competitors are getting set for a 3-stage race as per the format of the iRacing Stock Car Association. 163 laps are on the docket tonight, with stages ending at laps 30, 65, and of course the checkered flag at 163. 6 tire sets total, 5 in the pit lane for tonight, and with the 75% fuel limit tonight, Brian, fuel window expected to be about 50 laps for tonight.
Yeah, definitely going to be very interesting. Tires are going to be a commodity, but that gas is going to be a big commodity, especially in that final stage. I mean, the first 2 stages fairly short. I mean, 30 to 65. I mean, that leaves, a little bit less than 100 laps these guys are going to have to do. So that green flag pit stop's probably going to be in their future.
Lots to discuss when it comes to these drivers and how they could fare out tonight here at Atlanta. We'll be back in just a moment. Qualifying is up next.
Tonight's race is sponsored by Southern Spiral Pipe, proud supporters of the ISCA. We want to thank them for their contributions in helping us do what we all love to do. Southern Spiral Pipe. ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
And qualifying is underway on that mark. 5 minutes. 2 solo qualifying laps to determine the first running order for the season, and plenty of fast drivers have made their way to the racetrack for tonight. Amongst the names to watch for tonight, Brian, in terms of known speed, Justin Levine is known for being very quick when it comes to this car. His respective group, they've been dialed in on the next-gen car for a while. Chris Pfeffer, he's brought Legacy Esports into the field for tonight. Keep an eye on that machine, but also plenty of others showcasing and wanting to show they can drive this very difficult-to-drive race car.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of guys, I think, are picking up a lot of things on how to maximize their speed in this car. I think it's all going to be about aero here tonight. And a lot of guys out there, I think they can rise to the occasion. It's going to really come down to a lot of different variables for sure. How nice are these guys going to be playing with one another also, as we see the first qualifier get in the lap, Wayne Grossi with a 30.938.
Drivers currently continuing on forward. Let's take a look at one of the air drivers here. You see this is the number 87 machine trying to wheel its way around. This is Noah Fitz. He's is looking to try and bump up from 9th in qualifying. And keep in mind, when it comes to a lot of these speeds, as we've seen throughout the weekend, open racing, and likely we'll see tonight, the second qualifying lap, usually the quickest of the two, because that's when you're fully up to pace.
Yeah, 100%. Noah Bitt's known for having a lot of pace when it comes to qualifying, and there he goes, taking the pole with a 30.826. Bitts is always very quick in the short run, and he does have very good long run pace too, so he is a very big contender here tonight for the win.
Wants the air drivers to keep an eye on. How about the Southern Spiral Pipe Machine of Chris D. Johnson? He's trying to wrap the bottom right here. Started off with a 31 flat. The pole time now up to the 30.7s. This time by only a 1/10 of a second quicker. When it comes to trying to build a setup for when it comes to the next gen cars, how difficult is it to try and sort that out, to figure out the nuances, knowing this car will have a lot to think about changes wise in the near future, and as well, this is a car that is much more different to build compared to the Gen 6 car.
Yeah, I agree totally. I feel like a lot of these guys, don't need to get too used to what they're using right now to build, considering, a lot could change once the data starts pouring in. But I know one thing that makes it a little bit difficult, too, is I know the independent rear suspension, definitely a new thing for a lot of the guys that are probably not used to that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of drivers talking about trying to figure out as well how to build around the diffusers and the bump scrubs towards the bottom of the race car. There's a lot of things to work with. Keep in mind, just a couple days ago, some of the builders had some adjustments to make, albeit for some, a good one, because they moved where the front telemetry was picked up from the middle bump stops underneath the car to the front portions of that, to be able to properly figure out where the ride heights are, to be able to sort things out compared to some who may have been scraping the bottom of the racetrack while trying to make sure those middle ones were not scraping. A couple more drivers are picking up times for qualifying. Here's Mark Sanchez wrapping up his run. Puts himself inside the top 10 at 30.8. Ready to go in session. Also keep an eye on one more driver looking to get some speed up. Only about one lap or so worth of time for Don Avery to put that machine up onto the qualifying board.
Yeah, and I've seen Don Avery and some of the officials, and he's been a very strong driver for sure. Would not be surprised to see him get a good qualifying lap. And you see on these first laps, these guys usually run really high on the track, try to get that momentum. So for that last lap, like you mentioned, is going to be the fastest lap.
He's not going to have time, though, it looks like, Brian, to get that done. He is under that 30-second to go mark, meaning this will be the only time Don Avery gets. First time around a 31.3. He waited a long time to build that speed up, and it's not going to be able to work out for him. Another driver also waited the number 5 of Greg Wachinski. He's just realized, I believe, as well, coming around the stripe, that he will not have enough time to put in a lap on the board. But with that, 21 drivers do put up times. And with that, the drivers will get ready to roll themselves to their cars. Let's take a listen to the national anthem here from Hotlanta.
Race fans, it is time for those most famous words in motorsports.
Driver, start your engine!
Beautiful rendition of the national anthem, as that means it's time to get things ready for tonight's action. Several drivers finishing their final adjustments. Let's see how they'll roll off for the start tonight for the Southern Spiral Pipe 250. On the pole tonight, it's Philip Kruger putting up a 30.792 to 1,000th of a second difference over the Legacy Esports driver Chris Pepper. Row 2 features Greg Bartlett. He'll start alongside the number 32, that is Jeff Barnes in the Pepsi machine. Al Kozlowski, he's quick when it comes to hot laps. The Gas and Go Racing machine led all drivers in practice. He starts from 5th. He'll start alongside the Edge setup shot machine of RJ Root. Row number 4 tonight will feature the number 87, that is Noah Bitts, who started off qualifying strong with his 30.8. Jeffrey Souza rounds out the top 8. And the final drivers inside the top 10, Mark Sanchez, his 31 machine, is 3/1000ths of a second difference between the 99, that's Philip Rajolbik, inside the top 10 tonight, Brian.
Yeah, and lining up in 11th here is the 117 of Thomas O'Hara, lining up in 12th, 7 of Wayne Grossi, 13th, going to be Mario LaPenta in that 15 machine, 14th is going to be the 02 of Mark Pudgett, 15th, Chris D. Johnson, 16th, Jason D. Baker, 17th, Glenn Ballard. Welcome back to him for sure. The 18th place position here is going to be Dave Long of the 38 machine. The 19th, the 66 of Michael Kildevald. Sorry about that. If we're messing that name up, please don't send me any angry emails. 20th, rounding out the top 20 actually, is the 24 of Kenny Powell.
Don Avery, the last driver to put in a time with a 31.3. The rest of the field did not set times in qualifying or did not make the practice session. Justin Levine coming in throughout the final few moments. The defending champion of this series starts 22nd. Clayton Hoffman starts in 23rd, and the Rocket Racing Setups machine, Heath Snyder, in 24th. Then it's Greg Wachinski in 25th. Paul Olson and Paul Regney round out the 27 drivers. Look to make the starting grid and will roll off for the first green flag of the season. Once again, I'd like to thank those who are watching along throughout the action here on ISCA, whether on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. Be sure to keep up with the action by following along on social media tonight, because this race could have a fair bit of buzz with some of the drivers involved and some of the attention that could be brought with many of these teams getting a big test here tonight at Atlanta.
Yeah, definitely going to be a big test with how many drivers there are, and a lot of percentage of them are very, very skilled. Oh, already some action on the grid here. Wayne Grossi is spun out.
And this is not an easy car to figure out, mind you, even on the starts. And already, Wayne Grossi has demolished the number 7. Unbelievable. What happened? I believe he had an issue where Thomas O'Hara lit the tires up. And obviously, they delayed the yellow flag, but already at least 2 drivers with very significant damage before the first pace lap is complete of the season.
Yeah, that was all on Thomas O'Hare there. I mean, I don't know what. Maybe he was in first gear and just pressed that gas a little too hard. Definitely very unfortunate for Wayne Grossi, just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And keep in mind, there are no fast repairs like in official racing in this series, so with the damage, the 7 is in a very tough spot now. Thomas O'Hara's also in a very rough spot. The front clip completely crunched in on the 117 after that one. So the goal for an additional pace lap here as a result of that one to regroup. A few drivers are also trying to get themselves sorted in terms of how they can get the restarts figured out, because this is also a different kind of car in terms of how the gearing's set up. Sequential for one, but it's also a 5-gear forward gearing system plus the reverse.
And there is the green flag. It does appear.
No,
we're still under yellow. I'm sorry.
Yes, they're added the pace lap, Brian, to correct you there. But they did give an EOL as well, though, it seems, to Glenn Ballard, who was supposed to start 17th.
Definitely interesting that he received an EOL there. Curious what brought that on.
An eventful way to start this off, though, Brian, you have to say. Who are you watching for to contend for the win, though?
I mean, I definitely, looking at, you mentioned it before, Justin Levine. I mean, last season's champion. He is just such a talent out there in that front line machine. Another one, Clayton Hoffman, always bringing some really great finishes. Noah Bitts. I mean, front line, all the guys on front line are very talented. I mean, Wayne Grossi would have been one I would have been looking out for because, I mean, he's usually a very strong contender too. But, gosh, I hate that he's missing his front end like that.
With that, though, the drivers are now all set to go after some theatrics on the initial roll down the front straightaway. It'll be Kruger in control of the field, followed by Pfeffer to the outside. Atlanta's all set to go. The Southern Spiral Pipe 250 is underway from Hampton, Georgia.
I'm telling you, they were trying to definitely build the suspense here for us. I think that was the whole name of that game for that little incident there, but the racing has begun. Philip Kruger securely out in front. Chris Pfeffer trying to follow in the tracks.
Christopher Pfeffer trying to build up that run indeed as it's 2x2. Hearing that Rossi did get a meatball flag from his respective damage. A black flag has also been issued to a driver who started from the pits who just spun across the racetrack, the 5, Greg Wachinski. He is currently about half a track ahead of this fight, but the lead for the first time this season held on by Kruger, but Pfeffer wants to take it away into turn 1 and will take it away along the seam as they pass by the smoke pump.
I'll tell you what, back here for 5th place, these guys, or 4th place actually, have been 3
trouble on the
wide
front
for quite a
straightaway.
while.
LaPinta and a couple other drivers crashed when Wayne Grossi tried to come to the pit lane at the bottom of the racetrack. Absolute craziness. So several of these drivers are going to have to deal with damage. They are about to reach Grossi down the front stretch.
Yeah, Grossi's still on the racing service. Now he just got off. Wow, that had to be scary there. I mean, such a scary start for a lot of these drivers. I mean, what else are we going to expect here?
I mean, for those who watched along with a certain event where $4,000 was on the line for the winner at Auto Club Speedway, there were 7 eNASCAR drivers who have either competed in the Coke Series as of 2021 or were in the Contender Series and will be finishing up that season next week. Only 1 survived to make it to the checkered flag. All of them spun on at least once. It's not an easy car to figure out.
Yeah, definitely, clearly. I mean, it's not an easy car to figure out. I mean, Atlanta, not an easy track to figure out. I mean, you would think it'd make it pretty easy in this car because it provides so much downforce. But, I mean, Atlanta's just a track that's very tough to tame.
Taking a look at some of the battles, meanwhile, in the midst of the pack right now, and this could be interesting how the side draft forces also fare out. A lot of space is being given by some of these drivers, but the side force is a potential factor here. You get close to a quarter panel, you can pull a driver right on back. But if you fight for too long, Brian, you either get freight trained or you end up potentially slowing down your whole pack and losing the draft in front.
100%. I think the biggest thing is who you go with. I mean, it's all going to be about strength in numbers here at a track like this. You don't want to get left out to dry, running the bottom all by yourself. If everybody's up at the top, you run up at the top. Unless you have help. If you have help, then you might be able to make a pass happen, and it looks like we might see that thing happening right now. It looks like I do believe that is the aid of RJ Root making his way up into 4th place.
Just up the road, in fact, from Noah Bitts, who we're looking at right now, and Bitts is getting the bottom rolling in particular. Just can't clear on by Jeff Barnes, though. Barnes is just hanging on that right rear quarter panel when the corner exits, pulling him back and keeping them side by side.
And it looks like the 77 going to choose to go to the top to help out the 32. That is Greg Bartlett.
Oh, bit of a check up in front as the 88 nearly came up the track, had to let off the gas. That is Kozlowski now having to go to the bottom. 3 wide indeed as Bitts takes advantage to hold on and get himself single file.
And that's what I was talking about, being left out of the dry. No one's really helping out Mr. Kozlowski right now. Looks like the 99 might be lining up behind him. Maybe get him back up to speed. Just goes to show you how fast things can go wrong for you. You can lose so many spots very quickly.
That's one of the main things I've picked up, especially in the big tracks, such as this, where you're currently on iRacing, running essentially the 550 horsepower package. You need to keep the momentum up. You need to have friends. If you don't have friends, you need to take the run and essentially force your way into a friendship.
Yeah, 100%. You got to make that guy think that you're faster than him. For sure. And it looks like Noah Bitts trying to look underneath the 32 of Jeff Barnes. Not able to get there. Maybe going to try it on the straightaway.
Bitts can't get to the quarter panel, though. Barnes losing a bit of ground either way. Gives some space now And most of the drivers, as expected, try to avoid that big bump along the edge of the wall in through turn 3, trying to use the middle lanes. Barnes keeping it side by side and proving again, the top line is a good defensive line. This could help the 77 though. Bartlett with his best run coming to the corner. Just can't keep it up though with the dirty air. The arrow is huge here with this car.
100%. And the amount of time these guys are on there, on throttle too. Another concern, just because this is open setup, is heating issues. I mean, if you put a little, well, I forget, there's actually no tape on these machines.
Yes. You're more so the tires than the actual car itself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, being behind someone else actually does wear your tires more, considering, just the different airs and different forces that are acting upon your car.
Bit of a checkup for Bartlett as he gets a little bit squirrely coming out of the gas. Able to hold on to it, nearly made contact with Jason Baker. Keep in mind, towards the back of this grouping still, Justin Levine has not been able to punch a hole through the air quite yet. Despite picking up 10 spots, he is still in the midst of the choo-choo train.
Yeah, but that's definitely a lot of positions to be gaining here. He's going to need friends, though, and he doesn't really have a lot of friends right near him right now, it doesn't seem like. If he was able to get up there to Noah Bitts, might be
check up in front. Another bit of a squirrely moment for the 85. Jason Baker nearly came up the track, forced him to lift, and that may have just actually helped Levine set this up here, Brian.
For sure, and it looks like it gave a really big opportunity there to the 99 of Filipe Radovic, and but it looks like he's going to lose out. That top line just is getting stronger and stronger as we watch it.
That was one of the main emphasis, is that from discussing things with a few people and seeing some of the setup traits, the phase around the top was by lap 30, you'd see most of the field up at the wall, especially in turns 1 and 2. Some are already trying that, but the way the rubber builds up on the track, you need to be along the wall at least half the racetrack by the midway point of the field run.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Curious if we'll probably see them at the walled in when the stage break comes up at lap 30, almost at the halfway point to there.
This stage has been flying by quickly. Keep in mind, the point of no return for stage 1 tonight will be at the 4 to go mark. If there is a caution prior to that point, there is the potential of a GWC for the stage itself. Of note, Pfeffer is in the race lead, followed by Root, Barnes, and Kruger at the moment. It shouldn't be surprised to see the number 84 machine up at the front, the way that car and that team is known for speed.
100%. Looks like he's putting a little bit of a gap on these guys. These guys looking like they're going to go to 3 wide here for third or maybe second.
You know why?
Not happening.
Look who's in the midst of it. That's 24th. Mario Lapinta, who's currently not letting the leaders go.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that, you have to really keep an eye on is, when you're lap traffic, letting these guys go, because it could be a danger. But it looks like he's going to go high, maybe get out of the way. A lot of front-end damage on that race car.
Remember, was involved in that incident we mentioned when it came to Grassi trying to go down the pit lane. Still keeping up the draft itself, and it's not making it easy at all for these lead lap cars halfway through stage 1. The bottom line now trying to pick momentum as a result here. This is not good for the 81 of Kruger, who might get stuck here.
Yeah, definitely not. Kruger almost getting squeezed there. Looks like he's got just enough room to get around here. Someone who's got to be loving it, though, is probably RJ Root. That lap traffic definitely helped him out quite a bit.
Near contact amongst the teammates, and now there's
there
a
it is.
lap. Jeff Barnes spun through the pack. Caution is out as Jason Baker hits him. Barnes to the inside, safer barrier, and we're under caution for the first time of the stage.
Yeah, definitely looked like he was helped around.
It absolutely looked like a help and then some. Almost too much of a helping hand. You don't want the bump off center off the corner. We'll take a quick
for sure.
look.
Looked like the 14 of Jeffrey Souza there.
Yes, indeed, it was. So Jeff Barnes absolutely destroyed with the first caution flag of the night as a result of that tap from behind. So, what does this mean for the strategy, you feel, Brian? Because Obviously, you expect drivers to pit at the end of stage 1, but do you take a gamble this early?
I mean, these guys have 5 sets of tires in the pits. I mean, that leaves you a little bit of play, with what what you could do here. I mean, if you really want to gamble and get some stage points, I wouldn't be surprised if some guys did that.
And it looks like there are some drivers playing a little bit of rolling of the dice now. How about the mid-pack specifically? Bitts, Souza, Hadget, Baker, Bartlett, Levine, Kozlowski, Lawn, Snyder, Avery, Ballard, amongst those who have now ducked down to pit lane for their first pit stops of the night. Again, this could be an interesting time for this because at the very least, especially for those using their tire sets, a majority of which appear to be taking 4, a couple have taken 2 like Don Avery and Kozlowski. Technically, if you were to say stay out in the next caution, you might be able to make it to the end of the second stage here.
Yeah, it actually could be a possibility. I mean, if you definitely save a little bit, but I think the gamble might be worth it though to take the tires here. I mean, I was looking at Chris Pfeffer here. His lap times over this last 17 laps, or before the caution came out, actually should be 16 laps. He fell off to 31.5s. I mean, his fastest lap time was a 30.527. So I mean, that's a second of fall off already. Just shows tires do mean something here.
Absolutely. It's not as simple as match the pedal and pedal it all the way around the track. There is the potential to burn up those tires, especially to the run. So, iRacing pace car down the front straightaway this time. Will the lights go off? No, an extra pace lap here. So, this will essentially set up a 9-lap shootout. And a couple drivers are taking another gamble here, saying, let's top off again to make sure we might be able to make it to lap 65 if they were to stay out at the stage caution.
That's definitely a gamble. I mean, with the caution, laps and stuff, they might be able to make it. I don't know. It's going to be quite the gamble, though, to try to save that.
Well, mathematically, you could make it, in theory. But here's the thing. Say you get clean air, Brian. Drivers have reported at some of the big tracks, you can burn up to a gallon more of gas, like at a super speedway with the Gen 6 car, mind you, by trying to carry that speed at, say, a 1.5 mile or a 2 mile racetrack. That's how big the clean air is.
Oh, I mean, I definitely could see that very easily. I mean, just the hole that these cars cut through the air, definitely enough to save some fuel. I mean, that air that goes down on the front of your nose, I mean, that's drag. That's going to cause you to burn more gas. That's just physics.
So expecting the one-to-go signal this time by, again, it's Pfeffer in the race lead, followed by Root, Kruger, followed by Jogen, along with the 66. That is Kuderwald, who is up from 19th to 5th with this call. Kenny Powell with the rolling of the dice in 6th. Mark Sanchez, Paul Regney. Round out the drivers who stayed out. Kozlowski did stay out after his 2-tire call, not electing to top off compared to his other counterpart who tried that. Then it was a slightly quicker stop for the number 02. That was Mark Padgett, who had significant damage. He elected to just get the damage fixed on his front nose, so he is still on old rubber, Brian.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, a lot of times when you have damage, your tires maybe aren't even being worn as much, considering you're not able to get as quick. I mean, aero is so important here, and if you get front end damage and you lose some RPM out of that engine, that's a killer, especially at a track like this. So I mean, it's good to see him getting that damage took care of. I mean, you have to do it. I mean, there's going to be more opportunities to get more fixed. I'd get it all done if I could.
Couple drivers still trying to close up to the pack. Meanwhile, Rossi is now back on the racetrack after 11 minutes of repair, 17 laps down. The away drivers laps down. Greg Wachinski, who started from the pit lane and proceeded to loop it through turns 1 and 2. Chris D. Johnson with significant damage, 1 lap down. With the stage break, likely gets the lucky dog. Green flag is up in the air. Back underway. A bit of wheel spin for some of the drivers.
Yeah, not very surprising there with the wheel spin. I mean, these guys starting on old tires. This is an old surface when they have not remodeled this racetrack yet.
Look at that.
Like, go ahead, sorry.
Was going to say, Root has just been ditched along the bottom of the racetrack. No help. The entire pack trying to drive by the 8.
Yeah, you got left hanging out to dry there. 3 wide.
Noah Bitts wants to go to places, and that place is the front. He is already up inside the top 5 at the stripe, down to under 10 laps to go on the stage. Root now getting pushed by Bitts. Levine is also following suit on the choo-choo train as a bit of a checkup on the bottom and a checkup up top. 4 wide off the corner. That's trouble. What a save by Bitts as they crash behind. No caution yet. Bitts saves it again. More cars get squished as now there's the yellow.
My word, I'm shocked that Bitts was able to save that twice, no less, and everybody behind him just lost it. And it seemed like it was almost like dominoes there. I think we saw the 66 of Michael Kildvald. He seemed like he was having some problems and kind of backed that pack up, almost like a little bit of a bottleneck there.
Yeah, 4 wide doesn't work off the corner in Atlanta.
I'll tell you. I mean, look at that car there spinning around. I think that's Al Kozlowski.
Yep, the 88. Understand, drivers want to go to the front with the fresher tires, but that was a major risk to go 4 wide indeed, and that damages several drivers, amongst them Kozlowski along with Ballard. Significant damage. Kildevald is also reporting that the air was taken off his spoiler and or his nose in the midst of all that as well.
Could very well be the case. I mean, from what I heard, kind of talking with some of the guys before the race, I mean, I know that he was one that wasn't really sure on his setup, though. So I'm curious, maybe if maybe he didn't get enough time in building that thing, and maybe he needs to make some adjustments to that race car.
More pit stops as expected as a result of all that trouble. Djokovic, along with Baker, Barnes, Lawn, Padgett, along with Regney. All coming down to the pit lane this time by some of them to get damage repairs, some of them scheduled stops. Decent call, I believe, for the number 99 here. A bit fresher tires than those who pit the last caution, and for sure would be okay on the gas by a decent amount.
Yeah, I mean, especially we're not going to be a long, till the next stage here. I mean, if the caution had came out, a lap or so, even 26 or something, we would have been talking about the end. That would have been the end of the stage. But these guys are still going to have to race it out. But not going to be a ton of tire wear on these cars. But a lot of guys are electing to take a lot of damage. This accident really shook up the field quite a bit. But I mean, look at that though. The 6th place right now, Justin Levine, last season's champion. I think right now it's all about survival. I think that last stage though, definitely going to be all about strategy.
At this rate, absolutely. As Hoffman elects to duck it down to the pit lane this time by drivers passing by the flag stand, still will stay behind the iRacing pace car for one more lap. Essentially a 3-lap shootout for the end of the first stage. Remember, point system matches that of the NASCAR Cup Series, where the top 10 will score stage points after the top 10 cross the stripe at lap 30 to be able to score the first points of the season.
Yeah, and I definitely do not think these guys are going to be taking it easy, not one single bit. I think these guys are going to be racing like it's the end of the race. Those stage points are going to be very, very valuable. I mean, you think one stage victory or one top 10 finish could separate you from making it into the playoffs when it comes to that point. I mean, I know it's really early to be thinking about that, but I mean, still, it could come down to that.
Very critical, absolutely, to think about in the big picture. Pfeffer this time will lead his 20th lap of the race at the stripe. So again, it's Pfeffer, Ruger, Root, Lodeval, along with Powell, who have not yet pitted in this race, followed by Levine, who is the first of the drivers on fresher tires. Snyder, Sanchez, Bartlett, Bitts round out the top 10. Again, unbelievable that Bitts was able to hold onto the car. Mind you, the 87 did not pick up any damage somehow from that 4-wide, I guess, decision out of the corner.
Very talented driver. I mean, to be able to, make a big risk like that and still come out of that, unscathed, very impressive. And nonetheless, not even lose a top 10. I mean, he's still in the top 10. Still, I think, in contention to maybe win this thing. But what I'm curious about, these guys that stayed out, we saw tire spinning in the last restart. I think we're going to see it again even more.
And for a lot of drivers in the preparation coming into this week, Some felt, oh, we might not get the tire spin. Obviously, that's not been the case with some of the drivers experimenting with what gear you can go in as well. That's also a big question mark. First, second, or third gear you feel was the better way to go in Atlanta?
Yeah, I would assume second, but I mean, I'm used to the Gen 6.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm sure a lot of guys are experimenting with that. I'm definitely sure of that. And maybe even the gear in the race car itself, being this is an open setup.
Absolutely. So the iRacing pace car dropping off. 3 laps to go on the stage. Coming up, Pfeffer has led a majority of the night so far. Green flag is out. We're back underway. No major tire spin this time. Look to try and get themselves settled down. Levine immediately tries to settle in right in front of Heath Snyder. Keep an eye on those drivers lined up bottom line. They get checked up with the cars in front.
Yeah, they're right behind Kenny Powell. Kenny Powell going to go up the track probably to let these guys go. And when you see someone with this much speed, you have to just get out of the way. Otherwise, you're going to cause some problems. But Frontline has kind of, came together here. We were just talking about it earlier about if Justin Levine could get hooked up with one of his buddies. Well, now it has happened. But now he looks like he's going to try to go on the high side. Look at that, 3 wide on the top. Justin Levine going for second place.
Pit lane is now closed in the final 2 laps of the stage. Levine ripping the top. Will we have enough time to attack Chris Pfeffer? Levine with a big boost. More than 5 miles an hour down the straight quicker. Here comes Levine. Justin Levine takes the race lead, coming to the white flag for the stage.
Wow, what a move. I mean, just the amount of speed. That just shows you how valuable tires are.
Crash coming out of turn 4. Powell gets spun. Several more fly up. That's the end of the stage as they all crash at the flag stand.
Oh my goodness, that is a mayhem and calamity there.
And it was Philip Kruger who ended up getting tagged about there, trying to hold it side by side. But as you'll see for the replay, keep an eye on the corner exit. Root was holding his line while Kruger slid up the track and then started a bobble round as he bounced off the door of Root.
I'm shocked that the wreck didn't happen when they were 3 wide. It happened when they were 2 wide. Just was not able to keep handling on that race car.
So several destroyed race cars here really shuffles up the end of the stage. At the end of stage 1, Levine, Snyder, Pfeffer, along with Root, Bit, Rajovnik, along with LaPinta, Baker, Bartlett, and Whitevald rounding out the stage point scored. Take a quick break. You're watching ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series action from Atlanta.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Welcome back to ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series action from Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's the Southern Spiral Pipe 250, and it's been a wild one. Some drivers have definitely been put to the spiral of learning how this car works. Justin Prince, Brian Britt with you, along with Rob Melnick in the producer's seat for tonight's action. Several drivers, as expected, coming down the stage to pit, including Pfeffer, Bartlett, Souza, LaPinta, along with Barnes, Avery, Hoffman, and Kenny Powell amongst those having to get repairs done after the big one. Coming to the flag stand, just 10 drivers stayed on the racetrack this caution flag.
Yeah, it makes sense that some of these guys like Levine would stay out considering they just took tires, but what a great win for him. I mean, that wasn't even the most exciting part of that last lap there. I mean, there was all kinds of calamity going on off the racetrack, as you can probably see the after effects of it now, watching these guys drive around the track.
Why don't we get the chance to talk with Levine? It's a 1-2 for his team, and this is an organization that he's been helping build for the past 6 months plus on the iRacing service. Justin Levine amongst those who really have embraced the next-gen car to be able to get up to speed for this machine, and with this machine entering tonight's action. Justin Levine now joins us in the broadcast booth. Your winner for Stage 1. Justin, first of all, talk us through how it's been feeling in the race car tonight, because it's looked like an interesting one, let's put it that way.
I feel like I'm plate racing. You got to go where the run goes. You need draft. You need a drafting partner to push you through the hole. But I really like that the tires are getting eaten up a lot, so I pitted there with the caution before the stage, and I was able to drive up to the lead.
Now, when it comes to this car, as we are at the one-to-go signal, mind you, what have been some of the main things that you've been having to pick up on, knowing there's a lot of work being done with the rear-world version of this car, but also a lot of teams are now getting their hands on this car, in some cases, the first time?
You definitely got to build this car for pack racing. Like, if you go out there and you feel like your car is comfortable by itself, throw that out the window, because it's going to do the exact opposite in a pack. We're learning that firsthand tonight. The car felt really good in practice, and then first run here, it was very tight. So we're going to be working on this car all night long.
You have a team 1, 2, 3 for the restart. Let you get back to it. That's Justin Levine once again. His team starts 1, 2, 3 indeed for Frontline. Organization, they were amongst the first major teams to embrace the next-gen car when it came out of the iRacing service as part of the Pro Invitationals back in the springtime. Green flag is out, off and away they go, and as expected, 1, 2, 3 cars are in sync on the gas.
Yeah, that's a big advantage for these guys. I mean, look at that's exactly according to plan. We see, I do believe that is Heath Snyder lining up right behind Justin Levine, all three lined up in a row. This helps them control this race. No one's going to be able to really take this from them unless they have a concerted effort also.
Already, half a second picked up on Jason Baker, who, remember, has significant front end damage. So that pack's starting to lose a bit of ground. You also have drivers who are without front clips inside the top 10. But the driver to watch for, a little bit fresher tires now for the number 84, Chris Pfeffer, who's dominated this race so far. He's trying to rip the top line for the clean air.
Yeah, definitely going to be hard to make that happen up there without any help. But a lot of these cars, as you mentioned, are damaged. So, I mean, you never know. He could make some passes up there, but he's definitely going to need some help. Looks like he's going to be able to go on the bottom here and easily pass by Chris Johnson, who also probably has some damage on that race car.
Left front in particular on Johnson's car. Remember, he was in range for the Lucky Dog just a couple cautions ago. Did pick up that prior to the last caution of Stage 1. Remember, the end of Stage 2, lap 65 for tonight at Atlanta. Take a look now at the lead car for the second pack. The 99 up 6 spots from the starting of tonight's action. Keep in mind, that car trying to pull route with them. They've already lost nearly 2 seconds to the top 3 choo-choo train.
Yeah, those top 3 definitely just running away. All very quick race cars, but still, I mean, I would be happy if I was the 99 or the 8 RJ Root. I mean, relatively clean compared to a lot of your competitors out there. I mean, if I had a clean vehicle out there right now, I'd be fairly confident, just considering just how hectic this has been for a lot of these teams out here. And what a, not a good start for their teams either. I mean, definitely going to have some learning opportunities here going into the next race.
Did we mention the next race is at a short track?
Well, actually, I don't believe we're going to be racing next week for Christmas. We're going to be racing at Talladega. So it's going to be a lot more of that. Yeah.
Even better. Meanwhile, Pfeffer, as we're keeping an eye on, is up to 5th. He's running similar lap times in the dirty air to the race leaders. That's how quick the Bobadilla Lawrence Legacy Esports machine is. Now he leads the second pack as, hello, traffic to the bottom.
Yeah, Al Kozlowski, huge damage on that race car. Discount modified, well off the pace. You hate to see it, but I mean, you definitely have to admire the determination and the persistence, to stay out there when you have such a damaged car. It's not fun.
Yeah, it can be very difficult, especially when it comes to the potential of the car bottoming out, the potential of engine damage in particular could slow you on down. It's the type of race car where momentum is so critical on the service currently. All those things to think about. But also keep in mind, when it comes to the speeds, when it comes to the damage for the 88 of Keselowski's machine, he's topping out at 145 miles per hour. Clean cars, like Pfeffer's, 180 down the straights.
Yeah, and a lot of these lap traffic is coming in, play here. I do believe that's Jeffrey Souza they just got by, and it's almost like a minefield. I mean, especially if you get a good cluster of those guys. Sometimes it's hard to predict where they're going to be, especially when they're going so much slower than you, and it's hard to predict what kind of speeds you need to be, where you need to be to, when you're approaching them, I should say.
Meanwhile, keep in mind, we are watching 9th and 10th on racetrack. Hoffman and Avery trying to figure out how to work together. Remember, Hoffman's had several lengthy stops. This race tonight at 14 spots. Avery have the greatest of qualifying runs. He's got a clean race car, as there goes the space now left by Jason Baker on the outside wall this time. Now, getting back up towards the very front of the pack, I'm very curious on how this could fare up for Pfeffer and his respective side, because with these three, they're showcasing something they picked up a lot towards the end of the last build, and which has carried over and a lot of the pro drivers have figured out. If you can group together in a pack of 2 or 3 and tandem draft and/or work in sync like this, you can run away.
Well, they're starting to not run away anymore, actually. Looking at Chris Pfeffer's, yeah, he's going faster. Pfeffer's running faster right now than the lead pack.
I was about to mention that too. On equal tires, keep in mind, that would be the major thing. But with Pfeffer, that fall-off difference we were talking about, upwards of 13 laps, the difference between their stop stints and the caution flag laps, that's now factoring in where Pfeffer, 30.8 last time by, 31 flats for these drivers you see on screen. About midway through stage 2.
Yeah, those guys are... you'd be surprised at how just a couple laps could really make that much of a difference. I mean, you wouldn't think so, but apparently so, especially at Atlanta. I mean, very abrasive surface. Can't wait to see what they what they've come with whenever they actually redo this racetrack. I mean, almost feel like this is a historic race itself right now. I mean, this is going to be one of the last times we might see, Atlanta in its old glory.
That's actually a really big point. I'm curious how this plays out in the real world, knowing the track's reconfiguration. We'll see it higher banking, tighter corners, a very wide front stretch. It almost looks like it's 9 wide. It's almost a mix of, almost a mini Pocono of a front straightaway in terms of width right now, in terms of their construction. So much to think about as these drivers have now picked up the draft of the top 3, and here we go.
And it didn't take very long at all. I mean, Pfeffer's just been consistently running faster. 4/10 faster last time by. I mean, crazy amount of speed in that Legacy 84. And I think really the guys behind him, Filip Radojic, definitely taking advantage of that. Staying right on him, trying to just at least hang on to the tail of him. Really be able to benefit.
Oh, look at that. Bit of a block now. They're trying to fan out and feed dirty air on several different lines. Pfeffer just drives to the inside. There goes Snyder now to feed some air. Several cars now they have to dodge for traffic. 2-3 wide. Oh, that was close as they battle for second.
I don't know how they made it through that. I mean, that was scary. But they did. I mean, that just shows the talent level of drivers in here in the ISCA.
Look at this, though. Pfeffer's lost help, and now he's dooring people. Contact as they slide, and a major save, but now they have some damage. Pfeffer's trying to figure out if he's got it straight. He does.
And one thing about it, that really just separated the front line guys. Noah Bitts now back in 7th.
And it almost looked like at that mark, Pfeffer was trying to go for a higher arc for the corner entry, try and pinch the 99 up towards that bump we were talking about. It got very tight with how close it was getting along the wall. And in turn, Levine, Snyder, they've been able to break away. Pfeffer still has the draft to the top 2. Well, everybody else, they've been hurt massively from that in that pack.
100%. I mean, I'm sure a lot of guys are not looking very favorably on what Pfeffer just did. I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose, of course, but, you saw the result. Really split this pack up. It looks like Pfeffer's not done. Looks like he's going to work his way up here to Heath Snyder.
Of course, Christopher Pfeffer has come a fair bit of ways from a couple years ago with the Gen 6 cars. It was a long learning curve for this racetrack at the time. He's been able to settle on down and be able to handle loose cars. He tries to handle a loose moment as he clipped the apron. Has the better run, though, down the front straightaway, but no help in the draft. And more cars to dodge 3 wide.
And Pfeffers just has such a quick race car. Shocked at how quick he is. I know before the broadcast started, I know you even said that you saw Pfeffer in here. You kind of thought he was going to win this thing. I mean, no wonder. I mean, look at the speed this guy is generating here.
It looks like they have a lot of confidence in that respective camp, understandably. When it comes to the amount of work put in by that group, the amount of backing a lot of their drivers have been picking up, including a lot of railroad connections from that camp. Pfeffer now trying to get some clean air, it looks like. Turn 2 is a good ramp, keep in mind, to build up passes if you time it out right. Here it comes for the ramp.
Can he get there? Looks like he is going to be side by side with him, not able to get clear, though. RJ Root going to come to maybe help. A little bit of reinforcements here from an unlikely RJ Root.
Pfeffer, though, had the check up. Got a little bit tight towards the bottom of the racetrack. Couldn't get to the quarter panel. Levine on corner exit. Now goes for the higher arc alongside Snyder. Again, the fresher tires really helping on the bottom for the corner. But Pfeffer tries to clear, can't. Here comes the run for Snyder.
And RJ Root even thinking about taking it 3 wide there. Lifts for it. I think that Pfeffer's used those tires up. I think he's on the same kind of equipment these other guys are, just considering how hard he's been driving it.
Already approaching 10 laps to go on the stage in the next couple times around. This stage has been blistering on by. Of note, the 66 has just pulled into the pit lane. That is Grindelwald, who has had significant damage now out of the way. Here comes the battle for second. Rajovic with a bit of a bobble, bottoming out off the corner. Pfeffer takes advantage to move up to third. And it now looks like if you aren't on the top, good luck.
And you mentioned that before, about how you thought everybody was going to be on that top line. Well, it seems like that is the strong place to be. But Pfeffer's still making it work on the bottom. I mean, he's still being competitive down there. Just does not have what it takes to pass. I think when the tires start wearing, it just gets impossible to pass.
It almost feels like if you want to get it done to the bottom, it has to be out of the corner. Speaking of out of the corner, the 99. A little bit of aero contact, let's phrase it that way. That puts him in the wall. Significant damage for the 99.
Yeah, I also saw a little bit further back in the field, Mario Lapenta went off the racetrack, went down onto the apron, luckily did not have contact with anything.
And for reference, currently 12, he did pick up stage points as a result of the crazy end of stage 1, for those just tuning in. Meanwhile, the choo-choo train is about to have a bit of a railroad block. That is Souza staying up top. Will anyone take advantage? Root tries to side draft for second.
I'm telling you what, if I was one of these lap cars and I saw this pack of just wild, blazing, fast race cars come up on me, I gotta say, I would probably be terrified. My anxiety level would be at a 10.
Lead pack for reference, by the way, already 2 seconds of fall off. 32 twos at the moment. On fresh tires, they were running as quick as 30.2s with the draft. Or side by side, Root again can't get clear of the pack. And now this gaggle. Remember when it was just 3 cars? It's now as far back as 9th. That's how hard they've been scrapping with the side draft as Pitts nearly hits Pfeffer off the corner.
Yeah, this is getting pretty wild here. I mean, even Clayton Hoffman, who was back in 8th, has caught up to these guys. This has made this a real race. Oh, there's some contact. Big wreck here. I think it's going to cost you now. Clayton Hoffman sideways, yellows out.
With under 10 laps to go on the stage, a major crash as we're under yellow again. And boy, oh boy, calamity with lap traffic. It was the question of not if, it was when. Glenn Bauer tried to stick at the top line. Got a little bit tight with Bitts, making door-to-door contact with Root.
Yeah, I mean, Glenn was trying to stay up as high as he could. Couldn't really do anything about it. Those guys were just racing hard. I mean, bad place to catch lap traffic.
This changes the strategy a lot, potentially, Brian. How would you slice this from this point? Because in terms of the gas itself, we're right at the cusp of a one stop. But in terms of the stage and the tire wear, it's a different story with the tire sets left.
Well, I mean, we saw Levine, kind of do the same thing on that last stage, pit a couple laps before the stage. So it could work out well for these guys. I mean, if I was someone, I think I'd pit now and take a set of tires.
But he wouldn't follow that advice. Yes, Pfeffer thought about it and he tricked someone into the pits. That's a way to force a stop, I guess. Well, he does have damage, so it makes sense either way. But they nearly banged bumpers. That's how close the fake out was.
I am kind of surprised that some of these guys stayed out. I mean, just considering, the fall off we were seeing was 2 seconds. I mean, it's such a huge fall off. Tires are everything here. You could get yourself a bunch of stage points maybe if you decided to pit here.
Of note, Souza gets the lucky dog. He is now 2 laps down. Several drivers you see getting damage repairs done down the pit lane still. You got to remember, too, the end of the stage, at the rate we're going, would be about 5 laps after the green flag, so it's not a bad call to just stay out for a couple laps and try and hope you blocks 3 lanes at once.
I mean, for sure, a lot of it's going to be pretty hectic. I mean, we saw that last stage end very hectically. Could see maybe guys wrecking across the line again, and maybe the guy that is up front be the safest. I think that's what Levine's thinking, at least.
Track position can be keen, as we've seen with the clean air. So again, it is Levine, Snyder, Pfeffer, Bitts, Avery now the top 5. Jason Baker is currently still on the racetrack as well. He's still got his significant damage. He'll elect to come down to pit for damage repair this time, along with the lap drivers. First driver who came in for pit service. Passed by them now. That is Project Mick and the 99 machine. We see the stops now on screen. Also of note, the next drivers who have taken service will be Padgett, along with La Pinta, Paul Olson, Clayton Hoffman, after damage repair is in 10th. And as you see, lots of body repairs being done. The body part shop in the middle of the infield, or that at least the person who has the cart filled with the body parts and the bear bond and the virtual equivalents of that, I should say, very busy tonight.
Oh yeah, they're definitely earning their keep here tonight.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, anybody that has to rebuild these next gen cars, I mean, and from what I'm heard about, NASCAR in real life, it's very hard to get these cars made. I don't believe a lot of teams have a lot of cars, so these guys definitely are risking it all by wrecking these vehicles like they are.
I believe there's also a limit, keep in mind, each team can have per car, charter, or entry, should say. You can't just say, okay, let's have 25 cars for one driver. It's not that simple now.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that's in an effort to try to give the lower funded teams maybe a chance, make it cheaper. I don't know. It sounds like that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about when it comes to all this, as want to go signal and something just happened to the 99. Nope, his internet nearly fell out of the wall, it appears. So it is Levine, Snyder, Pfeffer, and Bitts, the top 4. Avery, Rajovic, along with Padgett, Lapinta, Hoffman, and now Paul Olson, the top 10. Already, at this point, 16 drivers are left on the lead lap. The last of them, Jeff Barnes, who is driving a partial modified. Everyone who is a lap down is 2+ down, with some of them up to 4 minutes plus of damage repair or blown motors. Hearing this will now be essentially a 3-4 lap dash to the end of the stage.
Pretty much exactly what we saw in the last stage, so I think this is going to be very hectic. Very, very hectic indeed. If you did get tires there, I think we're going to see some guys drive through this pack, as pretty much what we saw from Justin Levine in the last stage also.
Let's find out how this stage ends. iRacing pace car coming off this time by Levine in control of the pack still. Members 1, 2, 4. Green flag is out, back underway. Pfeffer with a little bit of a slower start though on the bottom, holding up Avery and company.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys, just looking at these starts, a lot of them are being really easy on the throttle. I don't think they want to spin those tires.
Here comes Pfeffer, though, trying to sidetrack for those fresher tires. Will this work out for him when it comes to the difference despite the more scuffier tires up at the front? First driver on the freshies in general is the 99. He's taken it near 3 wide off of the corner. Couple laps to go on the stage. Here comes the huge run for Rajovic. Where did this run come from for third?
Telling you, Philippe definitely very quick. Taking those tires could win him this stage here. He's already fighting for the lead.
Can he clear? No. Nearly got clear. Levine holds on to the quarter panel like we could this time. Couple laps to go on the stage, this time by. They try and shuffle about with the top line, trying to form up for the older tires, but it's not enough to defend yet. The 99 to the race lead. 2 to go on the stage, pit lane closed.
Wow, just crazy. I mean, it just shows you how tires are king. I mean, you see 2 seconds of fall off in these race cars. I mean, telling you, tires are definitely going to be very valuable. As Philippe, we might be interviewing a different guy for this stage here.
Oh, contact to the back of the pack. Avery drifts down the track, collects Paul Olsen, and that ends the stage right there. Kruger involves several more slam of the brakes. And just like that, right on cue, the end of stage 2. That was not pretty, let's put it that way. Watch the middle car here down the back. Wow.
I don't know what happened there. Just
it looked like Avery drifted up the track, Brian, and then when he tried to straighten it out, drifted back down.
Hate it for those guys that, some guys are just kind of like a victim of circumstance, not really their fault they got involved in those accidents. So you hate to see that. I mean, guys having good races, and that's going to cause even more guys to go a lap down.
So again, that will end the stage. That is Rajovic along with Levine, Snyder, Pfeffer, Bitts, Lapinta, Baker, Paget, along with Hoffman, Barnes, the top 10 that time by to end the stage. More coverage coming up. Right after this, you're watching the Southern Spiral Pipe 250.
Tonight's race is sponsored by Southern Spiral Pipe, proud supporters of the ISCA. We want to thank them for their contributions in helping us do what we all love to do. Southern Spiral Pipe. ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway for more coverage of the Southern Spiral Pipe 250, the ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series, the season opener, brand new iRacing campaign as well. Justin Prince, Brian Brent with you along with Rob Melnick. And it has been a race where strategies have been abound, incidents have been abound, learning experiences have been abound, sledgehammers have been abound, and everyone is looking to have fun.
I don't know. If I feel like some of these guys seem like they might have some angry spouses that have taken the hammer to their race cars.
Well, that's the way to put it.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of these guys, I think, are having fun. If you have a fresh car, I think you're having an amazing time right now.
For perspective, with how crazy this race has been so far, we are already at the point where 5 drivers have meatball flags at the moment. Kruger, along with Sanchez, Jeffrey Souza, Don Avery after result that caution flag, and Wachinski. Also, once the drivers off-circuit getting repairs done include O'Hara, along with Kozlowski, along with Johnson, Powell, Regney, Ballard, Dave Lawn, Those drivers all already off the track. 13 running currently on the lead lap. Jeff Barnes with the most damage repairs being done under these cautions. But now it's time for the real strategy game. The long run. The first one of the season. Stage 3 coming up. This is where, if you are a team and you know how to plan, the adjustments are going to be critical. The timing of the stop is going to be critical.
100%. I mean, this is where, really, the timing of the stop and making sure you don't make a mistake. I mean, during these stage breaks and these cautions, if you make a mistake on pit road, it might not hurt that much. But if you miss your box by just a little bit, or if you speed on pit road, it just makes it so much worse. You're going to have to go back down pit road. Or like I said, if you miss your box, I mean, that even if you miss a couple seconds on pit road, that equals so much time on the actual racetrack itself.
So again, to reset your top 10 after some pit stops, only 2 drivers stayed out this caution flag. That was Jobic along with LaPinta, Patchett along with Levine, Snyder, Pfeffer, Hoffman, Baker, Bitts, Root. Now the top 10. Rear drivers in the lead lap are Bartlett, Olsen, and Barnes. For the first time tonight, the number 99 looks to try and wheel things ahead. That bright yellow car. We'll see the yellow flag change over to green. Green flag is out, off and away, and he's got no help at all behind him.
Okay, it looks like he went a little bit early there, and then no one was really there to... It looks like the bottom line was just pretty much sleeping.
You know why the O2's got significant damage? No back bumper panel, 3 wide as they try and freight train around him. Padgett not able to defend. At the bottom, tries to clear himself in front of Hoffman, forces a check up low. LaPinta also significant damage, but here comes Levine up the racetrack. Levine bottomed out in the corner.
Yeah, just not able to get there up on the top lane. I mean, that kind of move seems like it works later when the tires are more worn.
Yep, absolutely. Levine now shuffled behind Pfeffer, though. That's going to be important for later on.
I'm shocked at how that 15's able to do this with that much damage on that race car, staying right there on the 99. Looks like Pfeffer's going to go underneath, maybe get past now.
Nearly fed the door, in fact, from Pfeffer. Levine tried to take the wall to build up the run to counter now on LaPinta, and does. Levine with some help as well, moved Levine up to 3rd. Snyder up to 4th position as they fan out behind him.
Yeah, a lot of different lines being ran here. Looks like a lot of guys trying to take advantage of clean air. Especially a lot of these damaged cars, going to need a little bit more clean air.
Absolutely. Keep in mind, not expecting overheating issues as a result of no tape, but it will still affect the speeds. Still side by side with the side draft we're talking about coming into play, with Hoffman. Padgett running side by side, Bitts now clearing on by as well. But for the lead, Pfeffer is going for it. He tries to send it. He nearly sends it into Levine's fender.
Yeah, Levine, I'm sure, would not appreciate that very much. But Philippe definitely taking advantage of that clean air. He goes high. He's going to let these guys go. Justin Levine going to take the lead here.
And Levine got the better run, indeed, down the backstretch with the ramp along with Snyder. So it's now front line 1-2. They look to stay at the front of the line building up. It looks like Levine preferring to stay up top early on this run.
Yeah, very interesting to see him running that top line this early. It seems like it's working for him.
Here comes Snyder, though, rounding the bottom. Will he get clear? Yes, he will. Heath Snyder looking to get his first lap of the season. He will. So Levine gives him the space with 90 to go that time by the stripe. Keep in mind, there is another challenger joining the picture. His name is Noah Bitts. His car is damaged, and he's still able to close on in quickly despite a crumpled up right front fender.
Yeah, surprised to see him back in it. I mean, not too bad on his damage, but like you said, the right fender looks like it's definitely got some damage there. But he's still managing to stay right with these guys. Not quite as fast as the other frontline brothers, though, it does seem.
Well, he does have the damage, which is going to impact him absolutely. It's not going to be as simple as fast setup means fast car, including if you have no front bumper. It's not 2019. But 88 laps to go. Bits is still trying different lines for the clean air, which is also critical as we've seen, and it's working for him.
Yeah, seems like he's able to get something going here. But it looks like, every time he goes below the 99, it doesn't seem like he's able to really get anything done. I don't know, maybe this time's different. Looks like he's going to get clear. Taking over 4th.
Nice quick pass indeed for Bits. So now front line is 1, 2, 4 at the front of the pack. Now the main thing I'm curious might be, how is Pfeffer playing about this? Because he is currently on his own, with no one in the box for him for tonight's action. It almost looks like he wants to be patient here, just wants to ride, and knowing the pit stop window is essentially midway through the stage.
And if you're just a split second better on pit road, you can end up gaining the lead that way. I mean, a lot less drama trying to get the lead that way. Noah Bitt's going to try to split these guys up. He wants Chris Pfeffer. He wants all of the frontline guys to be together. It looks like he's not going to be able to get there.
You know something, though? The choo-choo train effect? Remember, it broke away a little bit before this run. All the drivers with the damage, they're bouncing back now. Hoffman, he's now picked up the draft for the top 5. LaPinta, despite his side-by-side, he's keeping the draft. Root, despite a completely destroyed right side, is keeping up. Paget, without a back end, is keeping up. Bartlett, with essentially a car that's taken several hits to a sledgehammer, is keeping up with the pack as well. A 10-car pack separated by 1.5 seconds.
Really is shocking to see these guys able to stay out there like that. It must just be pure willpower keeping these cars running as quick as they are. I mean, you can see the spoiler damage on Hoffman. You see the spoiler damage on Greg Bartlett. I mean, just damage everywhere, but these guys are still making it work.
Based on what your experience have been with the car so far on the service, throughout the iteration since the next-gen car came to be, what has the damage effect been like on these types of racetracks?
Well, it doesn't seem like it's been affecting them very much. I mean, considering, if you were in the Gen 6 and you had similar damage on your race car, I think that would all but kill your race. But these guys are somehow still going on. So, it looks like the next gen, very durable race car.
Especially when it comes, it seemed, to this point of the run. Snyder, got to bobble up the front pack. Keep in mind, behind you see all those drivers with the damage trying to build up runs, and this is where they might get into trouble. If they don't have the draft in front, it seems, then it gets tricky to actually make a pass, and that's also going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think for the guys with damage, they're going to try their best to just stick to the guy in front of them. As soon as you try to make a pass, you're going to lose more than you're really going to gain here. Like you said, anytime you try to dip out from behind that other driver, you're definitely going to be struggling, and it looks like these guys are going to be coming up on some lap traffic here shortly.
Snyder keeping away from the wall, and they are keeping an eye on the traffic, hence why everyone's choo-choo training the middle line this time. That's the 88 sticking to the bottom. Lots of space being given by Kozlowski as he nearly gets hit by Hoffman, clearing on by.
Yeah, a lot of respect there for Al Kozlowski staying out there, considering, he is 16 laps down, or 11 laps down, but he's still in 16th. It's worth it to really stay out there.
Their driver they're passing on by, that's Paul Olson. He was the last driver in the lead lap before the next driver in risk of losing the lead lap, Barnes. The only other driver not in this pack is Jason Baker on the lead pack. Here it comes 3 wide, and Bits this time goes airborne. He joins the space program on iRacing as he launches to his own pit box.
Yeah,
Caution is out.
Huge contact with him and Philippe.
Yeah, Pfeffer thought 3 wide to get around Levine. Bits was trying to also make a move, and big boom.
Yeah, it looked like Bits was just going to go down, maybe take a ride through the grass, but I think he overcorrected.
Yeah, it looked very much like he was trying to keep it on the racing surface, absolutely.
Huge damage on Philippe to 99. Missing his whole front end.
Ranked it a bit to the right. Bye-bye. And a couple drivers who ran in a event with a fixed setup with this car mentioned, if you start losing control, it's gone. It's hard to save.
100%. I know I've heard plenty of talking about how the low-profile tire just so, not a lot of feel in it, so when it actually goes, it's already gone by the time you actually feel it.
So, all but 3 drivers coming into pit. Snyder, Levine, Bartlett are the only drivers who stay out here. They are still outside the fuel window, and now it gets fun for tire strats. Some have had an extra tire set on the bank. Snyder and Levine, they're making hats out of their tires. Everyone else, they are getting close.
Yeah, I mean, this has been crazy. It's been a survival. That's been the main factor here. If you could just survive this thing, you're going to be guaranteed a great finish here. And I think, the guys that have managed to weather the storm going to benefit greatly from this.
Seen with the race summary, already 6 caution flags, including the stage end so far tonight. Both stages, mind you, have ended as a result of a big one tonight.
And I really think that the majority of the field is missing their hood. I mean, usually the majority has their hood, but tonight we are having no hoods.
Maybe it's a new style?
I guess so. I mean, we're trend-setting here in the ISCA.
Possibly. Possibly. Bartlett getting more damage repairs done this caution flag, but we are still outside the fuel window by about 20-30 laps or so. So essentially from here, it is still a one-stop, no matter how you slice it.
Definitely going to make the strategy a little bit more interesting, though. I mean, are we going to see guys maybe try to split it in half or try to run it, run the gas out and then pit?
Big question, too, is Snyder, Levine, again, to remind folks watching, whether on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook tonight, be sure to communicate and follow along on social media for those watching, by the way. They are going to have about 18 lap older tires or so, minimum. 17, I should say, on the green flag run or so, compared to the others behind them. Does that make you nervous if you are Snyder or Levine, knowing you've been able to control the clean air to a point?
Yeah, that would 100% make me nervous. I mean, you gotta also keep in mind that every one of these stages we've seen guys pit and just drive, within 2 laps, drive their way to the lead. We've seen that twice now. And so if I was Levine and Snyder, I definitely would be thinking about that. I mean, there's going to be guys that are going to come up on you, and you're not going to be able to compete with them. But maybe saving that set of tires is really going to help. I mean, you can't think about it in the temporary. You got to think about it, the end of the race. Where do I want to be there at the end? If another caution comes out and I still have a set of tires, I'm gonna be looking good.
Want to go signal once again. 10 cars are left on the lead lap in what has been a class on how to drive a next-gen car in the 2022 Season 1 iRacing build. It's Snyder, Levine, Pfeffer, Hoffman, Padgett inside the top 5, followed by Root, Baker, Bartlett, LaPinta, Barnes is coming down again to get some more damage repairs done. Rounding up the top 10 just came out, in fact. He's been down in the pit lane a race high 10 times. Your biggest movers, Snyder and Levine, who both started towards the rear of the field tonight. It just shows, if you've got the talent and the speed, you can pick up spots if you have a friend.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what I think a lot of the teams out there could really learn from their example. To try to, cooperate with one another, try to come up with game plans, in practices, maybe work on some moves and stuff like that to really give yourself confidence when it comes to a race like that, especially one as important as a season opener.
Green flag is out back and away, already past halfway in the race overall as Snyder lead them to the green through turn 1. Levine clears on by. Now watch for Pfeffer, though, on the fresher rubber after some of that contact prior to the caution flag. Hoffman, though, is building up a run as well, despite his dent to the back bumper. Can't suck up as Pfeffer tries to get to the quarter panel.
I really think Clayton Hoffman has made that back spoiler there better for someone to push him.
But look at this, though. Pfeffer's found a hole with the fresher rubber. Move Chris Pfeffer to the race lead. Back again.
Oh, getting really tight between him and Heath Snyder. Justin Levine toying with maybe going 3 wide, but lets off so his teammate could get clear here. Big wiggle there for Heath Snyder.
It almost looked like with the arrow, he started almost sliding the rear tire there, trying to pedal the throttle, nearly slid down into Hoffman. Snyder rides the seam, and that rides him up the racetrack. The second driver on fresh tires, Hoffman, now takes advantage.
Yeah, it looks like Heath definitely suffering from that tire wear.
Yeah, both of the frontline drivers moving up, but remember, they will have a couple extra sets now in the bank for later on in the race. As Root tries to get the side draft, no. Can't clear on by with the help of the O2 machine. So it's Pfeffer back in the race lead. And keep an eye on the speed that the 84 has as he tries to break the aero bubble.
RJ Root right now side by side with Heath Snyder, just not able to get there, getting so close.
They're not backing off easy as Levine nearly into the fence. He knew he brought Jason Baker with him into his quarter panel.
That definitely would not be good for Levine here.
That was wild for a split second. But again, remember we talked about 1 second difference on the short run, and specifically when it comes to the tire wear before things equal out. Snyder and Levine now have shuffled back to around the ends of the top 10, as Snyder now under attack from Padgett, getting the run, keeping it side by side with the damage. Levine still electing to help along that top. The race leaders, by the way, have pulled away by already half a second for the rest of the pack. LaPinta has just had to pull it on down with trouble.
Yeah, surprise Mark Padgett's this quick. I mean, he's definitely holding on to it. Looks like he's going to lose that. Those spots actually falls back here. And he's missing his entire back end. Heavy damage on that race car.
He doesn't even have a place you can push on, in theory.
Definitely not.
And now he nearly tried to squeeze up Jason Baker up the racetrack there. Baker keeps it on the first seam. Bottom line, still the better way to round about. 9 cars now in the lead lap. LaPinta has completed his pit stop service, as remember, LaPinta has no front end, or rather front hood. You see the drivers fanning out. The leaders will have to deal with LaPinta coming out of the pit lane, going through to the back straightaway into turn 3 now. This is all while the top 2, they've checked out by 2 seconds in the past lap and a half.
I mean, yeah, their lap times are crazy fast right now.
Trouble! Front straightaway! Padgett turns around Snyder. Caution is out.
Oh, more heavy damage. Heath Snyder missing his whole front end. You know, now Padgett, he was missing his back end. Now he's missing his front end also. So, yep. That is not a good day for him.
And it looks like there was a third person involved. Look at that wiggle. Look at that weeble. Look at that demolishment. Levine had to stop the brakes himself there.
That is just unfortunate there.
I think Levine bopped the wall there. And keep in mind, Snyder was cradling the seam all throughout the corner right before this. As, wow, Levine hit the wall in that, Brian.
Oh, wow.
He might have got a piece of it at the quarter panel that launched him into the fence.
So that is a lot of front line going to be damaged here. I mean,
that is all a front line going to be damaged here.
That is not what the start they wanted to, their season. I mean, this is the season opener. This is going to set up the momentum for the rest of the season. What is this going to do to their confidence?
It's a big question, but it looks like Levine has already jumped out of the car after another big incident. Collect several drivers. We are still outside the fuel window. Pfeffer will stay out this time, with Hoffman, Root, LaPinta, who is a lap down, Baker. Bartlett, Barnes, Snyder, Padgett will come into the pit lane. In our words, there is one clean driver left on the lead lap, and it's Chris Pfeffer.
I think you just jinxed him there, Justin. We'll have to see how long that lasts.
I'm just stating the facts. He's the only driver without a scratch. And if there is one, it'd be the faintest of a crinkle of a crack. You see right front. Look where part of the L is for the Legacy. It's so faint that you can't really see it. I believe that might be an attachment.
I do see a little crumple there. Could just be a part of the fairing itself, you know, a little bit of
Exactly.
a ridge or something. But yeah, I mean, I think he's been fairly clean this whole race. I mean, he might have barely scraped another driver, but you could definitely he's got the cleanest car out there. And I know that Legacy going to be happy that, you know, he's carrying the torch for them here tonight.
Remember, he still has to come down for a pit stop for fuel. The green light to make it around 50 to go for this one. So
Still quite a way to go till we get to that point. So a lot of guys taking a gamble staying out. Some guys going down probably to get some more damage taken care of, which is an appropriate decision considering the amount of damage we've seen here today.
So again, Barney the Flagman having a lot of work when it comes to that yellow flag tonight. Right now, for those just tuning in, we are down to 8 cars on the lead lap. Pfeffer, Hoffman, Root, Baker, Bartlett. Barnes, Paul Olson just had to shut the motor off for damage repairs. Padgett, he's getting massive repairs done because he's also lost his front clip as a result of that. So, does anyone have anything for Pfeffer at this point?
I mean, the only person that was keeping up with Pfeffer there was Clayton Hoffman. I mean, he was staying right there on him. I mean, sometimes he was even running faster than him. Of course, that could be as a result of the draft. But I don't know. I mean, I think, you know, if there's not any other really stronger cars out there to help out Clayton Hoffman, I think Pfeffer's race. Because, I mean, it's just so hard to pass without help. So I'm thinking Hoffman, if I was him, I would be secretly messaging someone like RJ Root or something like that and say, hey, you know, let's work together. You know?
Question is, can they get close enough to help? Mind you, Root has front up right end of the race car. Baker's got front nose damage. Bartlett, a lot of damage. Barnes has no hood still. You have Grassi, who's lap traffic. You have LaPinta without a front hood. You have the 66, who has had several repair sequences done. It's been a time where attrition, it's been a big time thing to avoid. 65 to go when the green flag comes out. Pfeffer, Hoffman, Root, Baker, Bartlett, the top 5. Are you
hopefully,
Go ahead.
After, I mean, all these damaged cars, hopefully they can put them all together and make one good one.
I'm not sure that's how race cars work.
I bet they wish it did work that way.
So
what was your question?
I was about to say, are you having fun? Then join the conversation on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube on ISCA's platforms for tonight's action of the ButtKicker Cup Series. Once again, follow on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. In what has been a race to race. Yes, you heard that right.
I think it's been a race to melee. It's been a lot of melee going on out there. A lot of these guys, I think it's just a transition to these cars. First points race in the next gen, so we got to cut these guys a little slack.
Green flag is out, back on her way. Several drivers taking it 3 wide amongst the lap cars as Grassi tried to pull off and nearly checked up the O2 and does. That will hurt Padgett, who is still in the lead lap, and potentially could cost him the draft for the lead pack itself. Side by side for second up the road, meanwhile, as this is allowing Pfeffer to just waltz away.
Yeah, this is something Pfeffer's going to want to see. He wants to see these guys battling and not cooperating. Thing is whenever you decide to cooperate with one another, you got to also decide on who's going to lead you.
Meanwhile, on the racetrack, the herding of cats continues. Hoffman, the only one who wants to run the middle this time, now gets some help, it seemed, for the corner exit. Pfeffer, meanwhile, he can just run whatever line he wants with the clean air. Hoffman now, he's trying to follow the strategy we're talking about. Push Root, but he's now ditching Root.
Yeah, that did not last long. But I mean, looking at the spoilers here, I mean, I would say RJ Roots does not have the spoiler to be pushed. I mean, a little off kilter there. I'd say, like I was talking about, that little concave shape on the back of Hoffman. I'm telling you, that looks like it'd be easy to push.
Root, meanwhile, he nearly pushes into the safer barrier. A bit of the arrow push coming off the corner. Bartlett not giving up easily, though. Give Bartlett credit. He's been bumped up, down, sideways, nearly upside down, slammed into a couple times, has had the right front crumpled up, has the back end to the point where part of the inside part of the fender's breaking its way to the bumper cover. He's now up to third.
I'm telling you, Tito's their sponsor on that race car. Definitely getting their money's worth here tonight.
Now he's
doing a great job.
He's been able to have a solid race so far. As we take a look now at another driver who's kept on chugging along since the first incident of the night. Jeff Barnes, he's lost a majority of the body parts for his car. He still has the draft. He might get a top 10 out of this still as long as the engine doesn't blow.
I'm telling you, man, he's the Pepsi man right now. Pepsi's the only thing holding that race car together. What a, I mean, look at that. No, hood. How aerodynamic can that be? Like, it can't be very, very aerodynamic at all. But somehow he's still making it work, still holding on to, 6th place. I mean, what a great day that would be for a car that looks that bad. But Hoffman is caught up to Pfeffer now. Kind of changing things a little bit here.
This may perk some eyes now with that damage. The draft is still massive with these cars, keep in mind, Brian. If you can get a whiff of it, you can keep up. But again, it's easy to catch. It's not easy to pass.
That is a definitely almost like a one of the Ten Commandments of racing. It's one thing to catch someone, another thing completely to make a pass. And that is so much truer, I think, in these race cars because it's how air dependent they are. Clean air, definitely very useful, but also the draft helps you get that pass actually done. And Hoffman's not going to have a lot of help unless Greg Bartlett can get up there to maybe aid him. But it looks like that's not going to happen.
Right now, yes, indeed, Bartlett half a second, making nearly 6/10 back almost now. They're running 30.8s, 4.5 of fall off. Now that time by the stripe. Pfeffer the quickest out of the drivers inside the top 3. More traffic. It's a wild Kozłowski now running the bottom of the racetrack. Kozłowski now runs to the bottom. Will that help Bartlett? It does a little bit. Bartlett's picking up some draft from that.
A lot of other really damaged cars back here running pretty well, surprisingly. I mean, just shocking to see, how rugged these race cars are, how much survivability they have. You think the Xfinity car's tough. We haven't seen the next gen yet, apparently.
Absolutely, and wait until Coke season. Then it gets wild. As Hoffman tries to build up the run still. And you can see it right there. Pfeffer's able to carry more throttle through the corner with the clean air. But for Hoffman, he's picking up so much speed in the draft and has the dirty air, he has to feather out of the throttle much more than what Pfeffer has to do. It's similar to what was seen in the Gen 6 car, but to a larger extent, it seems.
And also got to keep in mind, Pfeffer's at a clear disadvantage right now when it comes to, gas. He's out there in the clean air. Hoffman's lifting a little bit more, throttling, not having to put as much throttle down. So it pros and cons to be in clean air versus not.
Remember, Bartlett actually has the more gas on hand compared to the top 2. The rest of the field behind is already behind by 3 seconds. So it looks like these 3 are now your contenders. When do you pit is the big question. We are now almost at the green light to make it to the end on gas. And because of that, the strategy window's wide open for, say, a short fuel stall, as in putting less fuel in the car and adjusting the springs to counter to loosen it back up.
Yeah, it could definitely be a strategy, maybe not take as much gas for sure. Curious to see what other kind of adjustments we'll see here. And when these guys will come down too. I mean, that's going to be the crazy thing is, is it going to be worth it to maybe wait a while, come out with the freshest tires, or maybe go in a little early and come out with fresh tires early?
Well, that's been a big discussion point. For those who have gone in green flag pit stops, we are currently at the rate we're going in range of that. Depending on how the second pack does. Here's Barney the flagman watching by as the cars zoom on by. Then you have the crazy party right on behind. The lead car in terms of the lead lap, and that pack for reference is Root. They are trying to work with Wapinta as the lead car. with a bunch of modifieds in the middle of the group.
Yeah, LaPenta being 2 laps down, but still carrying a ton of speed. I mean, LaPenta, not a slouch out there right now. And not even, he doesn't even have a hood, but apparently he's leading this pack.
So things have calmed down a little bit compared to before. The intensity level had been ramping up to a fever pitch before, but now it seems it has settled on down in the midst of the pack. Here's how some of the drivers are going to be ranked. Keep in mind with some of their first learning experiences. Here in this one, keep in mind, Jeffrey Souza, the last driver running on the racetrack. For reference, he is 21st. And the reason to mention that is, despite the fact he's running at 140 miles per hour and is about to be reached by this pack for reference, there's still spots on the line for the 14 to get. He could pass, if this stays green, potentially up to 29, up to 18th rather.
Well, I mean, yeah, just the same thing when you think about a guy like Al Kozlowski, when we talked about him earlier, was running 145 or something like that. You know, so slow, but still right now in 14th. I mean, you know, gaining positions, you know, the more guys that have trouble out here, the more it could really work out for you. I know it's not fun to drive on a hurt race car. Not fun at all, really. I mean, you know, you don't ever want to be out there driving at 145 mile an hour. That's just not racing. But, you know, it's worth it whenever the season opening here. I mean, if you quit a race, and you know, in the beginning of the season here, it could set up the rest of your season. Are you going to quit races down the road? You know,
A lot to chew on and think about here with this Southern Spiral Pipe 250. Green light now on fuel this time around for most of the field. By the way, for reference, the top line is now the preferred group for the race leaders in general, as Root and Baker then now broken away from Barnes, Padgett, and company. In terms of the positioning.
yeah, I think Root's just happy to be behind LaPenta. He's just going to stay right there behind him. It's working. I mean, he's separating from the guys he has to worry about. And Clayton Hoffman and Chris Pfeffer, I think they're going to be the ones to really watch here when it comes to the strategy. I think when one of these guys goes down, I think the rest of everybody else is probably going to go down also. And really, I think Hoffman has a big opportunity here. Maybe if he could short pit Pfeffer, get out ahead of him, it could really help out. Because it's been so hard for him to pass him. So if he can get past him in pit road, it could work out. We'll have to wait and see. Thing is, though, Pfeffer could really take away that opportunity if he short pits, or, you know, pits before Hoffman does.
Exactly. And to the point where they're trying to pick up some draft amongst one another right now. Now, looking back towards the second pack, that's where you'll find one of the drivers who has also had a wrestling match of a night. That is Jeffrey Souza, who nearly just knocked the wall down. And he's trying to let cars go here to be able to get some breathing room. We have now, you know, on the radio, yes, as he's driving the car here, Jeffrey, I know you're busy with the traffic. How are you feeling?
Hi, guys. How's it going? You know, we're not doing too great tonight. We thought we had a really good car, honestly. Just some tough predicaments on the track. I know everyone's had a tough race tonight, but I'm just hoping we end up with a really good finish here. I think we still got 3 guys up there that are really fast and have some fast setups under them, so I'm hoping we get a good finish at least.
Now, when it comes to the learning curve, when it comes to this car, what's it been like for you and your respective group to learn how to build for the next-gen car?
So, honestly, I think we've had a really good opportunity. We had a league early on this year when this car first came out that we worked with, open setup side of things, and we were really able to test and try different packages and just understand the overall driving, how this thing works in traffic and stuff. And I think some of the things we're seeing tonight, and even, you know, I'm guilty of the first accident there I got in my teammate Jeff Barnes by accident. But a lot of this is, I think people are driving a little bit too hard and maybe not having enough laps in this car to understand how they can push it around people. And especially, you know, you have a certain time after about 15 laps where there's a very interesting situation where you either get very loose or very tight. And I think we saw some incidents tonight with that as well, where you get about 15, 20 laps on the tires and people start to get pretty loose out there. So I don't think we're going to see any more accidents tonight. I'm hoping we go green with everybody spread out like we are, but you never know. I think it could be interesting.
So now the rest of the way, there were still spots to potentially pick up in the line real quickly. In fact, real quickly, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to speak with us, because guess what? The pit window is open. Good luck the rest of the way, Jeffrey.
Yep, thank you guys for doing the broadcast. You guys are doing great.
The reason having to cut that around is, guess who opened the window with the early call? Chris Pfeffer.
Yeah, he really just took the opportunity here from Clayton Hoffman, but if a caution or something does come out, Hoffman's going to be looking pretty smart for staying out here. But I think Pfeffer going down really is going to, force him to go down pit road, make a decision here.
Will Clayton Hoffman respond this time by? It looks like Hoffman's electing to keep on going on his own, all while Pfeffer, see what he does adjustment-wise. Off and away they go. Pfeffer, 15-1 in the box. Having to be nice and patient here. Remember, already 1 or 2 cars tonight have spun on that transition to the edge of the apron.
Yeah, very easy to do exiting pit road here.
So our first green flag pit stops of the season, as Pfeffer has come out in 8th position. At the moment, he is right behind Paul Olsen, battling for the lucky dog. That will quickly change, this time on the outside, so at the very least, Pfeffer is in the lucky dog spot, with a tire set still on hand. Give credit to Olsen. The gas and go racing machine is still chugging, all while Pfeffer, he's off and flying.
Yeah, those new tires got to be feeling great on that race car, as he's going to come up on a lot of traffic here, though. I don't think it's going to be too hard for him to get by him. I mean, it's just the difference on tires is going to be great. But then you also got to keep in mind that these guys who have yet to pit, whenever they do come out, they're going to be a lot faster than Pfeffer. So, I mean, there's pros and cons, give and take here. It just depends on how Pfeffer handles this.
Pfeffer's trying to play dodgems meanwhile with some of the drivers. He says hello to Jeffrey Souza. Drives right on by. Paul Olsen has just pit this time. Hoffman is coming this time. So Hoffman has elected to stretch the run further, and this is not looking good on the entry. Really slowing it down. Will he make the speed limit? Just barely did.
Definitely on edge. I mean, you have to do that, though, when it's all on the line like that on a green flag pit stop. You have to be as quick as you can. You got to get all you can getting down to pit road, and sometimes it is hard to get these cars wound up. You definitely lock those brakes up, and luckily he did not do that.
So Hoffman completing the service. Pfeffer already is making his way around. Pfeffer catching up quickly here for reference. And
Yeah,
Hoffman, keep in mind, had a much earlier pit stall down the lane, so this will allow Pfeffer a big running start. Pfeffer has passed. Hoffman has lost a lot of time.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a ton of time. I mean, wouldn't be surprised to see them with 5 seconds in between them here, and that's going to be a lot to try to make up.
So again, for reference, in terms of their lap coming in towards the box, keep in mind, Pfeffer waited for a bit on his call, pushed a little harder for when he came in towards the commitment cone, tried to save it as long as he could in terms of the delta. 38.6 in the box. Hoffman, 38.7. In terms of the lane itself, should say, 14.8 in the box. The difference appears to be that entry speed partly, as well as, you know, the difference of running on much older tires for a decent amount of time, 4 laps difference. 3-4, I should say.
Clayton Hoffman right now unlapping himself there. And so Pfeffer's already unlapped himself also. So Greg Bartlett, he right now is going to be the next one we watch to pit here. I really think he has the speed to finish third here, but if he waits too long, he might not.
There's a chance he ends up falling into the clutches of the next grouping. Keep in mind, Bartlett can go the longest out of anybody. In terms of the fuel, he can go for another up to 17 laps in theory. Jeff Barnes is in the same strategy window. Mark Padgett, who is nearly half a track behind Bartlett, is also on that same fuel window. Baker expected to come in fairly soon.
I mean, I think a lot of those guys probably holding out. You know, if a caution comes out for Greg Bartlett, that would make him look like a genius.
Keep in mind,
that's just the nature of racing, though. I mean, anything could make you look like a genius, or you know, maybe the opposite.
Root, keep in mind, still has not unlapped himself. Get by Bartlett. Jeff Barnes is coming in this time by, as well as Jason Baker. And bit of trouble now for the pit entry. Grassi went in with Baker, and that checks up Baker.
Yeah, a lot of tire smoke there. Wayne Grassi burnt them things up trying to get slowed down.
And drivers talked about in some major racing yesterday and throughout the week, the brakes are not the same as the stock cars for the Gen 6. They are much more difficult to try and slow down with.
Yeah, you can definitely see, you know, seems like they're very easy to lock up.
So off and away goes Baker. Barnes is still in his box. Patchett has also come on in. So then there was one. Greg Bartlett, he still is on the track and can go until around 15 to go. Instead, he'll tap out now, way backing it down. This will lose him a second or two at minimum, maybe 4.
And that's going to leave pretty much Chris Pfeffer and Clayton Hoffman. I mean, it looks like Pfeffer really has put a big gap on Hoffman. I mean, I expected Hoffman to really turn that around. You know, we understand he came out at about 4.3 once he got up to speed between him and Pfeffer. I thought he was going to be able to run him down, but it looks like he's been having some problems probably getting to some of this traffic.
See the RPM where it's standing, though? He's been down on 2 RPMs this run. The minimum is 2,000. He was at 1,998 in the box idle. That's a problem, too. And Bartlett, as a result, is already nearly a full track behind Pfeffer and Hoffman. Hoffman, he's losing ground to Pfeffer. 5 seconds the lead now for the Legacy Esports driver with under 30 to go.
Yeah, Pfeffer just needs to keep it in between the lines, keep this thing clean. I think he definitely, this is his race to lose right now, 100%.
Just a matter of dodging the traffic, hoping for minimized mistakes. Keep in mind, the instant time is only around 2 p.m. at this point, with the clouds on a very hot day in hot Atlanta. Remember, it's December 11th in Sim 2021, but it's 81 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a 90 track temp currently with that lower humidity.
Yeah, definitely. Humidity could definitely make this track a little bit, slippier. Definitely acts like ice skate, especially Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's just always been like that anyway. Even in these next gen cars, I mean, I think a lot of guys underestimate, Atlanta. Atlanta's a unique mile and a half, and that's why I'm kind of sad to see it go.
By the way, for reference, that would be the real world record for air temp if it was happening on this day in Sim. By 5 degrees. The guys in the Contender Series had the same type of situation where the practice session would have broke the Darlington, South Carolina air record by at least nearly 10 degrees. Instead, they got a cold temperature track for the race itself.
Yeah, iRacing does that. Seems like they do that a lot, just trying to throw it off, give these guys, keep them on their toes. I mean, a lot of times, even in the officials, you go to the practice, it could be a really, really cool track or a really, really hot track, and usually when you get into the race, it's the exact opposite. That's just the way, to keep you on your toes. I mean, that's one thing a lot of guys realize, you could build one setup that really, handles well at one condition, but, if the track temp changes or something like that from what you're expecting, you're going to have to be able to roll with those punches, and I think that's what we're seeing here right now. I think a lot of these guys maybe have built their setups for a different condition.
Possibly. And/or just the raw pace showcased here. Keep in mind, Pfeffer, he's actually slowing down a touch bit with the older tires compared to Hoffman, but the problem's going to be for Hoffman. Can he get close enough to actually utilize the 4-lap fresher tires?
Yeah, he's about 2 to 3 tenths faster right now every lap, Hoffman is, but does he have enough time? I mean,
if we go back to Hoffman, he's currently in the midst of playing beep beep, I'm a sheep, please let me go.
if I was him, I would be trying to work with some of these guys. If I could find a guy that actually is of my pace, but none of them seem like they're on the same level. As he gets by Jeff Barnes pretty easily. And that's one thing, you know, we talked about it before. You said it perfectly. You know, it's one thing to catch someone, it's another thing to pass. I mean, it's just going to be so hard. Even if Hoffman can get up to Pfeffer, Pfeffer's not going to make it easy.
Here's a look at Hoffman, and you see some of the traffic he just had to dodge, mind you. That included Barnes, Snyder, Winneveld, who would also had to dodge around, as well as Mark Padgett. He reached 3 or 4 of those cars in the same corner. That cost him a little bit of time. He's now 4.6 seconds back, 23 laps to go, in what has turned out into a strategy battle royale. Will fresher tires work from further back, or will undercutting and getting clean space work out? Also, what have they adjusted is a big question too.
Yeah, I mean, even though probably a lot hasn't changed very much out on the racetrack, I mean, as it rubbers up, you probably need to make some type of adjustments to just keep up with the racetrack. You know, even clouds going over the racetrack could really affect your handling. So we'll have to see if these guys haven't, you know, made any adjustments or, you know, to see what they could do. Knowing a team like, you know, Legacy, though, you know, even though he might not have anybody on the box, I'm sure Pfeffer's well known about probably making adjustments as this race goes on.
I'm pretty sure those would have been drilled into him for the past year.
They probably have set up boot camp for those guys.
Well, you joke, but one of the main emphasis is put on by the ownership group, especially from Boyd Hogan and company, is you need to know how to build a setup and bring speed to be able to have a spot. If you do not know how to build, good luck. That's how important knowing how these cars tick will be, especially in 2022 for all the teams as we take 20 to go.
Yeah, that's definitely a good policy. You got to be able to contribute. And, you know, I think a lot of people underestimate how hard it is to build these setups. I mean, it's not just clicking a couple things. I mean, it's a lot. Whether it's trial and error or, you know, doing some heavy math calculations or using programs like Motec, I mean, and doing tons of laps to figure out what, you know, it's so easy to make a change to your race car and it ruin the race car, or you make multiple changes and you don't know which change actually helped, you know?
Yeah. Meanwhile, there is a battle forming for 4th. Look at the pylon, and guess who? It's Jason Baker. He's closed in as a result of that very slow entry that Bartlett took. That's why that's the best, Brian. Practice pit entry. It's make or break time on the track where some can lose up to 7 seconds if they take it too cautious on entry. And or they wreck their car if they go too aggressive.
Yeah, it's such a fine line to walk. Really, though. I mean, especially in some breaks that you know aren't used to. I mean, you mentioned it. The brakes are so different. Jason Baker did a better job at learning, you know, knowing what he needed to do to get that car slowed down and have a better pit stop, and it's really paying off for him right now. And it looks like he's got some pretty good pace also. But there is a little bit of buffer. Wayne Grossi separates those two.
Grossi is trying to run the bottom of the racetrack for reference, all while Thomas O'Hara is currently in the midst of a bandstand towards the apron. Of note, the 88 has made a pass for the first time in a long while. He is overjoyed. It was not for position, but he made a pass.
Yeah, I mean, he's been struggling all night long. You know, any victory, even if it's a small victory, is going to be big here. And Kozlowski's been doing good. I mean, even though he's been so slow, he's up to 13th now. I mean, he's been climbing this leaderboard all night long, even though it hasn't been necessarily the most exciting way to do it.
Philip Kruger has just had to pull on in. That is his scheduled stop with severe damage as the 88 leads this modified class for this train. They are about a corner or so ahead of that pack battling for 4, who have not been able to make some moves quite yet. That's at the other end of the racetrack with a whipsaw. As Bartlett, approaching 15 to go this time by, Pfeffer's already taken that mark.
But Clayton Hoffman has really made a lot of inroads in here to catching up to Pfeffer. Now about 3 seconds separate the two.
Hearing that the 88 cannot make it on fuel by 10 laps, he'll be amongst the final drivers who have to take fuel to make it to the checkered. But Pfeffer, he's still holding on to a 3.3 second advantage. He's only losing half a tenth to a tenth per lap with the difference on tires.
Yeah, such a big gap between second and third, too. I mean, R.J. Roode about 14.3 seconds back there from Clayton Hoffman. What a great job from R.J., though. He's another one of the new names. I mean, we've had so many new names here this opening of the season. Love to see it, all this fresh competition. R.J. Roode's definitely been one of those guys that have really showed up.
Yeah, Root, he's been bumped and bruised and uprooted a few times. That Edge setup shop machine, despite being beaten up a lot, has some solid pace in it. It's showcased all night.
Yeah, I'm sure the Sim Racing Edge, the sponsors of that race car, definitely happy with his performance here and glad that they put their logo on his race car, because he's going to make use of the support those guys give him.
An interesting grouping where you have drivers like Ryan Shaw amongst the group owning that sponsor, I should say. Alex Murray. J-Bo is actually a part of that sponsored driver camp. They also have several different groups they're affiliated with on top of Root and his respective team, Eclipse Esports, on the sim. They've got a decent talent pool when it comes to their side. I will give them that credit.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I've used a setup or two of theirs, and very, very, very fast. I will say that. Got to give them some credit. And they're determined to put some good stuff out there, too. I mean, I know Ryan Shaw definitely is one that he spends pretty much all night long working on and tinkering. But Chris Pfeffer still out in front. Time is running out for Clayton Hoffman. 10 laps to go.
Hoffman needs to close up 2.8 seconds, and Pfeffer is having to really shuffle through the gears and burp the throttle now that he's reaching some dirty air with the traffic. Last time by, another 10th lost. He'll have to take the bump around the top, possibly. No, Snyder gives him space. All with Paul Olsen for the corner exit.
Yeah, a lot of these lap traffic not really getting out of the way, but where do you go? I mean, both lanes work really well, the bottom and the top. I mean, it looks like right now on this point, though, they're favoring the top lane, giving that to Pfeffer. And still the time is just ticking down for Clayton Hoffman. Can he make this time up?
In our words, right now, needs a little luck because Pfeffer's got clean track for the next few laps. Hoffman will likely have to deal with the aero wash coming up, but also will have the draft off those two in front of him to pull him down the straight possibly with 8 laps to go. So at least some straight line speed coming for a couple laps.
Also got to mention Greg Bartlett. We were just talking about him. Well, guess what? Jason Baker has managed to pass him and take over 4th.
Important to mention that indeed, that came just a couple moments ago, keep in mind. After the 77 tried to pass the 7, but couldn't clear him.
That's the kind of mistakes you can't make. I mean, you think you got the speed to get by a guy, but sometimes it doesn't work out. As we see, looks like Baker going real wide there.
Bartlett also got really squirrely. 7 to go for these drivers. Leaders are already taken 6 to go. These are the last drivers now in the lead lap, down to 5 on the cycle.
I'm telling you, what an accomplishment it would be to finish on the lead lap in this race, though. I mean, all the trials and tribulations that this top 5 has gone through. The one being that has not gone through any trials, really, is Chris Pfeffer. You know?
See,
Still
now
the
some
cleanest car.
Bartlett at this point looking like he's dropping off now, and he's now having to battle lapped cars. This may cost him any chance at 4th. Again, no slack at all being given to anybody from La Pinta as contact nearly with the traffic.
Yeah, that was close. That was almost another caution there. A late race caution would really shake this thing up.
Down to the final 5 laps now on the racetrack. Pfeffer leads by 2 seconds. And so long as he doesn't make mistakes, he is in the clear. Hoffman, last time picked up another 10th. At that rate, he will not get there in time.
Definitely a great effort there from that 92, though. Clayton Hoffman overcoming some trials. You know, you see the rear end damage he's got on that race car. Still able to keep this going, but, you know, second place, you know, a lot of these drivers don't like second place. You know, a driver like me, I love to finish second, but a lot of these guys, they are just true diehard racers. Second place is not an option.
Coming up to 3 laps to go this time by. Of note, Paget, along with Barnes, are also scrapping for 6th position. Drivers look to close it out under green. They're twinsies, by the way, in terms of the damage. Only one has a hood, one doesn't.
Perfect pair, sounds like.
Near perfect. But we're coming up to 2 laps to go this time by for the race lead. 8 tenths. We need to close up to get the draft total. 1.8 is the gap for the lead itself. 2 to go this time as the 6th and 7th place drivers drive around the traffic.
Just crazy how this race turned out. I mean, it really has just been a gauntlet for a lot of drivers out there. I'm sure the, you know, mental exhaustion is probably starting to kick in. 163 laps of this racetrack is no joke.
This is not an easy car. This is not an easy track. This is not an easy car or track to build for. White flag coming up this time by Chris Pfeffer. Crosses the stripe, final lap for the Southern Spiral Pipe 250. Pfeffer started the race in dominating fashion, started the outside front row, quickly took the race lead, led a majority of the first stage before having multiple different strategies shuffle the pack. By the end of the night, he would have led 87 of 163 laps. He'll lead the last one to start off the season with the W. The first win of the season for the Southern Spiral Pipe 250 goes to Chris Pfeffer.
Definitely a very great effort from Legacy, bringing that Toyota to victory lane. I mean, got to be happy. Especially, I mean, just to have that good luck. I mean, you know, Pfeffer had a lot, you know, really the odds stacked against him here tonight, considering, you know, had to face up against all those frontline drivers. But, you know, the frontline, they just did not have the best night here. So I think that was really what gave him. And, of course, he still dominated before that, even with them on the racetrack. What a great job from Pfeffer, though.
It was a race to remember, to say the least, as the rest of the pack has finished things up, but it will be Pfeffer who gets to celebrate and burn it down for the first win of the ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series season.
Yeah, he's definitely making this burnout count. What a important burnout here. You know, what an important win you need to celebrate. I mean, the first, you know, race of the season, you win it. I mean, that sets you up for the rest of the season. I mean, it really does.
And indeed does, and really sets the tone for one of the groups to watch for currently for the next month or so when it comes to this next-gen car. As Pfeffer celebrates, might have a look at your race results, unofficial results, as Pfeffer searches for victory lane. Hoffman finishing second tonight. He closed in within 1.5 seconds after trying to go for the overcut. RJ Root rounded out the top 3 tonight, 21.3 seconds back with significant damage. Jason Baker took away 4th spot late, with Greg Bartlett rounding out the lead lap drivers in 5th. Mark Paget finished in 6th with Jeff Barnes, celebrating with an enthusiastic yay when he crossed the stripe for 7th. Mario LaPinta, he fought everybody hard. 2 laps down in 8th, he finishes. Paul Wilson, Thomas O'Hara round out the top 10 tonight.
And the 66th and 11th place going to be Michael Kavald. Definitely a great job from him tonight. Heath Snyder, frontline driver, did very well early in the race. Unfortunately, is going to finish in 12th. Of course, Wayne Grossi kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time a lot of the night, getting involved in some accidents. Going to finish 13th. Al Kozlowski, very fast in the short run. Unfortunately, got damaged early, but kept it going for most of the race there. Surprised to see him finish 14th. Kenny Powell in 15th. Philip Kruger, pole sitter, finishing in 16th, unfortunately. Noah Bitson, 17th. Jeffrey Souza, 18th. And 19th, Justin Levine, another frontline driver who had some tragedy strike here today. 20th, Philip Redijic. Sorry about that. Some hard names here this season. Back to you.
And then the rest of the field also did not finish very quietly or nicely. Don Avery, 21st. 22nd, Chris Johnson. 23rd, a top 10 start for Mark Sanchez, ends with the DNF. Paul Regney, 24th. Glenn Ballard, 135 laps down in 25th. A couple drivers didn't even finish the first stage. Greg Wojcinski, Dave Long rounding out the field tonight. Again, it's Chris Pfeffer who gets to celebrate in this victory lane tonight. Post-race interviews coming up in just a moment. You're watching ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series action for the Southern Spiral Pipe 250.
Tonight's race is sponsored by Southern Spiral Pipe, proud supporters of the ISCA. We want to thank them for their contributions in helping us do what we all love to do. Southern Spiral Pipe. ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Welcome back to post-race coverage for the ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series and the Southern Spiral Pipe 250 this season opener. 2022 Season 1 iRacing campaign. Justin Prince, Ryan Britt, along with the producer tonight, and Rob Melnick, as post-race interviews are now all set to go. We start things off tonight with the driver who finished in 3rd place this evening. He was bumped, bruised, beaten about, nearly flipped about, and still came home in 3rd. RJ Root comes away with a podium finish tonight. RJ, how would you describe the night? Because it looked eventful.
Oh, it was way more than eventful from the driver's seat. We got beat up quite a bit during the race, and somehow managed to still find a little bit of speed there at the end.
In terms of how you tried to approach this race, what were some of the things you picked up or did pick up as the night went on, knowing for some this could be one of their first major races with this car for this type of a setting?
Really, I spent the whole race just trying to figure out who I could work with and who was, reliable to really work with to get by other people, because it takes 2 people to make a pass. So I learned a lot and excited for the next couple ones of these.
Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
I'd like to thank Sim Racing Edge and Outcast Sim Paints, and shout out to everybody at SBR.
Congratulations once again on the podium.
All right, thank you.
RJ Root quietly comes home in third spot tonight after a wild first and second stage for him. Meanwhile, Brian Britt gets the chance to catch up with the driver who tried to catch up to the 84. That is Clayton Hoffman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Clayton Hoffman. What a great job you did here tonight. You finished second. Do you think that damage is what was holding you back?
No, it's more of a strategy error. I used the extra right side set of tires, and I was just being too conservative at the beginning of that run. I don't know if I could have done anything if I had gone harder at the beginning of that run, but I was just trying to save just in case a caution came out because I didn't have any more right side tires.
Yeah, we saw there towards the end you were really starting to catch up to him. I mean, so you pretty much were resigned to finish second there just because of your strategy?
Yeah, I went all out, probably with about 23, 24 laps to go, but it just wasn't enough. I just kind of went the conservative route and took second, unfortunately. It's just one of those things where I'd rather have a chance to finish or go for a win if things didn't go the way I needed them to go.
Well, you definitely were beaten and bruised out there about like everybody else, but you were able to rise above it and finish second place. Do you think you're going to be able to do the same at Talladega coming up in a couple weeks?
Talladega, I mean, it's a super speedway. It's pretty much, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So, you got to get.
Not like tonight.
Yeah, it kind of was. There's a good run there where I think me and Pfeffer took tires and we just blew by the front 3-4 guys that didn't take tires and broke away from the pack. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be pretty similar to that, except with Talladega, there's even less tire wear. So, I mean, it's just everybody pretty much full throttle unless you're really trying to save extra lap of fuel.
Well, who can we shout out for you tonight, Clayton, after a phenomenal second place finish?
Shout out to Rocket Racing Setups. Shout out to James Mullins. Put together a great set. I was a little bit tight on entry still, but other than that, is literally perfect. Amazing on the long run. Also like to thank Southern Spiral Pipe, Chris Johnson for sponsoring the race. Shout out to ButtKicker for sponsoring the league, and shout out to you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast. I know kind of lost a couple guys there in all the chaos, but I know you guys always do a really good job. And shout out to Nolan. I know he's sick tonight, couldn't make it, but definitely thinking of him. He's always here. He's broadcast, I think, almost every race since I joined. So hope he gets feeling better soon. And shout out to Rob behind the scenes.
We definitely appreciate you, Clayton, and look forward to seeing what you do at Talladega. Now back to you, Justin.
Thank you very much. And one driver was able to come away unscathed with no damage tonight. Just one. Not a single driver avoided an incident point, should be worth noting, but there was one who had clean sheet metal. That was Christopher Pfeffer. Congratulations, Chris. You've won the season opener. You have the only car without any damage. How does that make you feel?
I tried my best to keep it clean. It was pretty hard because it seemed like at the beginning there, every 5 laps, there was a giant pile up to miss, but I did what I could, and the car was pretty good. Luis Alonso worked on it, and then I did some laps on it, made some adjustments. The car was pretty good. I knew it was gonna be pack racing. I didn't know how it was gonna do because it was just me, myself, and I really the whole night during the race against all the little different teams out here. But I did the best I could, and I kept my nose clean, and it worked.
Now, we talked a little bit in terms of some of the drivers having to learn a lot when it came to this car. Some of the drivers, in terms of major events, got their first experience with the car, they so said, last night, for example, in a fixed setting. They all spun out. How was the process for you guys to figure out the open side for this car?
Yeah, it was similar. I was earlier today when I was testing, I was spinning out quite a bit, and I ended up being really tight in the race tonight, but at least I wasn't spinning out.
So, of course, a strong start for you and your group at this point. Your thoughts now as there is a bit of a break now for the holidays. The next race on the calendar is Talladega. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll still just be myself. I don't think any of my other teammates are in the league, so I probably won't do too well. I'm sure I won't really have anybody to work with, so I'll just see what happens, do the best I can.
And then you like that, Brian? I know you might want to have some questions for Chris.
I mean, Chris just put on a dominating performance. I think I'll let his performance ask the questions. He did such a great job. And do you think that's actually going to, lead you guys to some more wins maybe in the future, momentum-wise, confidence?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that we have a solid base to work from now, from tonight. I mean, I really thought this car was pretty good. So hopefully I can just keep building on it and see what happens in the future.
Well, definitely congrats to you for your win, man.
Thank you. Just let me thank Legacy Esports, Reaper Speed Labs, Blackstone Management, and of course Kenny for putting on this awesome league, and you guys for the broadcast. So thank you guys.
Congratulations once again, Chris, on the victory. By the way, your builder for tonight just left a forwarded message towards us. You will have help, by the way, for Talladega. Who the help will be, we'll see.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah indeed. Chris Pfeffer ends up winning the race tonight here in ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series action. Like to thank him along with Clayton Hoffman and RJ Root for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage. Brian, your final thoughts on this one, because a lot of teams learned a lot possibly today. They may have to find several dozen drawing boards to hang up and draw on them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think these guys are going to be watching back on this replay, see what went wrong, and try to learn from it. I think, Atlanta still standing the test of time. I mean, unfortunately, she's going to be going away, but this is one for the history books. I mean, just shows you how tough this racetrack is, even in a new car that has so much downforce. I mean, you'd think it would, handle this racetrack well, but a lot of guys out there just definitely struggling with conditions, either getting tight or loose, as we heard. So, Atlanta doing what it does best. Can't wait to see what Talladega looks like.
With that, we'd like to say goodbye. We'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's coverage of the Southern Spiral Pipe 250. Again, to show the support, be sure to follow along with iRacing Stock Car Association action by going to iracingstockcarassociation.com. Also, be sure to follow along with the action, whether on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. Links are on your screen to be able to like, subscribe, and be able to get in the conversation to cheer on your favorite drivers and teams. But with that, it's time to say goodbye. For our producer tonight, and Rob Melnick. For my co-announcer, Brian Brent. Or Nolan Rempo, I should say. I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Keep watching ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series action from Atlanta Motor Speedway.